Alright, welcome back to another math video with Mrs. Hill. Today I'm going to show you how to divide with double-digit divisors. And in fact, we're going to work towards triple-digit and multi-digit divisors. Once you know how to divide with single digits, two digits, everything else just becomes a piece of cake. It's just a matter of following the order of long division. You're going to divide, then multiply, then subtract, then bring down. The big difference here with double-digit divisors is that we can no longer use our basic facts. For example, I don't know my 31 times tables. So I'm going to go through the thought process. I want you to really listen to how I'm thinking aloud and how I figure out how to divide by 31 or 75. I don't know my 75 times tables off the top of my head. I do know my 11s, and that's my first example for you. So let's do 258 divided by 11. I want you to write these down. Make sure you come to class with all of these examples, and then you're going to try some. So I do know my 11s. If you remember from the last video, when we have an example where the 11 doesn't go into 2, we have to put a placeholder there. We're going to put a 0. 11 doesn't go into 2, so let's put a 0. What I can do then to save myself a little time is divide 11 into 25. 25, right? I'm just going to carry that 2 over, 25. 11 does go into 25 2 times, because 2 times 11 is 22. Then I subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. Then I bring down. Now I'm going to divide 11 into 38. I know 11 times 3 is 33. So 3 goes up here. 3 times 11 is 33. I'm going to subtract to see what my remainder is. And I get 5. And that is my remainder. I have nothing else to bring down, so when you have nothing else to bring down, you pop that remainder up to your answer. Okay, let's look at a slightly harder one. Take a look at 878 divided by 31. Remember, you can pause the video. If I'm writing too quickly or talking too quickly, pause it. Rewind it. Take time to write these notes down. All right, again, I don't know my 31 times table. So at times, I'm going to have to guess and check when I do the division. So for example, 31 into 8. I know 31 does not go into 8. 8 is a smaller number. So I'm going to put a placeholder, a 0, right on top of the 8. Now I'm going to divide 31 into 87. Okay? Even though I don't have to think very far for this, 31 into 87, a very simple fact is 31 times 2. I bet most of you can do this in your head. What's 31 plus 31? 62, right? Do a little bit of checking, and you see it's 62. If you're not convinced, try 3. 31 times 3. Just to make sure it doesn't go in more than 2 times. 31 times 3, you see, is 93. Too big. So it only goes in to 87 2 times. Let's see what's left over. 2 times 31 was 62. I'm going to subtract. 7 minus 2 is 5. 8 minus 6 is 2. Bring down the 8. And now I have a really big problem. I've got a bigger number here. I know what 31 times 2 is. 31 times 3 is not a big deal. How am I going to figure out how many times 31 goes into 258? Let me try to show you a little shortcut. Here's a little rule of thumb that you can use when dividing big numbers. You can look for the little fact inside the big fact. Let me show you what I mean. 31, if we just look at that first digit, the 3, and for 258, we look at the first 2 digits. Instead of trying to figure out how many times does 31 go into 258, we can try to think of how many times does 3 go into 25. And we all know our 3's, right? 3 goes into 25 8 times, because 8 times 3 is 24. So that kind of gives you a starting point. Instead of just guessing some random number like 9 or 3 or 5, we have something to start with. 3 goes into 25 8 times. So I'm going to try 31 times 8. and see if I get something around 258. 1 times 8 is 8. 3 times 8 is 24. Is this number close? It is. If you wanted to, you could check 31 times 9 just to be sure. But if you think about it, if you're going to add 31 to this, that's going to be way over 258. Okay, let's subtract 200. So it goes in 8 times. Let's have to put the 8 up there. 8 times 31, we just figured out, is 248. Now I'm going to subtract. 8 minus 8 is 0. 5 minus 4 is 1. That's 0. I have nothing else to bring down, so that is my remainder. 28, remainder 10. Hope that made some sense. Watch it again if you need to. Okay, let's try one more. 6,493 divided by 75. Okay, another double-digit divisor that I don't know my 75 times table, so I'm going to have to do some guessing and checking. Maybe I can use that little shortcut where I look for the little fact inside the big fact. All right, so I know 75 doesn't go into 6. I'm going to put a 0. Oh, take a look at this. If I go over, I'm now looking at 64. 75 doesn't even go into 64. It's bigger than 64. So I'm going to have to put another 0. And now I'm looking at how many times does 75 go into 649? I'm now looking at a 3-digit number. I don't know 75 times what, so I'm going to have to guess and check, use some strategies, a little bit of estimation. Okay, what little fact do you see there? Do you see a little fact? Hopefully, you're looking at the 7 and the 64. Hopefully, you can see that, okay, 7 times what is close to 64? 9. 7 times 9 is 63. So we have a starting point. Let's do 75 times 9. If we don't use these kind of estimating strategies, we could end up doing 75 times 2, 75 times 3, 75 times 4. We don't want to multiply 75 times every single digit. So try to use this strategy to come up with a starting point. I'm going to try 9. 5 times 9 is 45. 7 times 9 is 63. 63 and 4 is 67. Ah, look at what happened. This number is a little bit bigger than this, but I'm in the ballpark, right? I'm close. So what do I need to do now? If 9 times was too big, I should try 8 times. I'm going to try 75 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. 7 times 8 is 56. Plus 4 is 60. There you go. Okay, now I'm in the ballpark and I'm smaller than 649. So 75 goes into 649 8 times, because I just figured out 8 times 75 is 600. I didn't know that. I had to guess and check, right? Subtract. Okay, be careful with your subtracting when you got multiple digits. 9 minus 0, 4 minus 0, 6 minus 0, 6 minus 6 is 0. Now I have to bring down the 3. And I'm back in the same boat again. Now I have to divide 75 into 493. Look for the little fact, guys, in the big fact. I don't know my 75s, but I do know my 7s. And again, if I look at 7 and I look at the first 2 digits, hopefully a basic fact is popping into your head. 7 goes into 49. How many times? 7. We have a starting point. We already know 8. We already know 9. Let's try 7. 75 times 7. 5 times 7 is 35. 7 times 7 is 49. And 3 is 52. 49 and 3, 52. And that is too big. I went a little bit too far. So if that's too big, I need to go down. I'm going to try 75 times 6. Okay, we're guessing and checking. 5 times 6 is 30. 7 times 6 is 42. 42 plus 3 is 45. Okay, now I'm under this 75 times 6. Okay, so 75 goes into 493 6 times, because 6 times 75, I just figured out, is 450. Now I'm going to subtract, and I get 3 and 4 and 0. And I have nothing else to bring down, so this pops up as my remainder. Remainder 43. Woo, that was a hard one. And these can be difficult. I really want you guys to persevere with these hard problems, and make sure you're taking notes. Let's try some. I want you to try some on your own. Why don't we just try 2 of these? I want you to try number 2 and number 3. Let's skip number 1 for now. If you have extra time, you want to try number 1, you can later, but let's just pause the video and try 2 and 3. Unpause when you're finished and we'll go over them. Alright, let's take a look at number 2. 404,321 divided by 56. Alright, a double-digit divisor. I don't know my 56 times table. We're going to have to do some guessing and checking. I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker because hopefully you're just checking your work. Okay, 56 doesn't go into 4. It doesn't go into 43. It does go into 432. Okay, so I'm going to use a little fact in the big fact strategy. I see 5. I'm going to see how many times 5 goes into 43. Well, I know 5 times 8 is 40, so I'm going to check 56 times 8. I have a starting point. 6 times 8 is 48. 5 times 8 is 40, and 4 is 44. Okay, too big. Let's try something small. 56 times 7. 6 times 7 is 42. 5 times 7 is 35. Plus 4 is 39. Okay, so it must be 7 times. 7 times, because 7 times 56 is 392. Now I'm going to subtract 0 to do a little regrouping here. And it gives me 4. And I have to bring down the 1. Okay, now I have to divide 56 into 401. Well, I think I already know this answer because based on the work I've already done, I know that 56 times 7 is 392, and 56 times 8 is 448. So it's going to be 7 times again. So I'm going to put another 7, because 7 times 56 is 392. I'm going to subtract, and I got to do a little regrouping here over the 0. So then I'm going to bar from that, and I get 11. So I got a remainder of 9. So that is my remainder. 77 remainder 9. How'd you do on that one? Hopefully you got that right. Let's try one more. Let's try one more. Let's do this big one, okay? The total number of seats in a college stadium is 54,912. There are 44 sections, and each section has an equal number of seats. How many seats are in each section? So I'm dividing 54,912 by 44. All right, 44 doesn't go into 5. Let's put a placeholder. 44 goes into 54. I know it only goes in one time. 1 times 44 is 44. And when I subtract, I get 10. Bring down the 9. 44 into 109. Well, I know that 44 times 2 is 88. I could try 44 times 3 just to see. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 and 1 is 13. Too big. So it is only 2 times. And I knew in my head 2 times 44 is 88. Hopefully you can do that. 9 times 8, 9 minus 8 is 1. 10 minus 8 is 2. Now I've got to bring down. I've got to be careful with my bringing down. If I get sloppy, I could mess up easily. 44 into 211. Okay? I'm going to look for the little fact. 4 into 21. I'm thinking about 5. So let's check 5. 44 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 plus 2, 22. A little bit too big. So I'm going to try 44 times 4. And let's see what that gives me. 16 and 1, 17. Yep. So 4 times, and that goes on top of the 1. Let's make sure I'm lining up my numbers. Yep. And then I'm going to subtract 176. And got to regroup again. That gives me a 5. And that gives me a 3. And I got to bring down one more number, 2. 352. Okay, I now have to divide 44 into 352. Well, I know it's bigger than 4. It's bigger than 5. Let's try, and I'm looking at the little fact, 4 into 35. Well, I know 4 times 8 is 32. Well, I could try 8. I'm going to try 7. 44 times 7. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times 7 is 28, and 2 is 30. Too small, let's try 8. That was my original guess, 44 times 8. 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 8 is 32, plus 3 is exactly 352. Look at that. So it's exactly 8 times. 8 times, and I have no remainder here. So I don't need to write a remainder. It went in exactly 1,248. And that makes sense. This is a real life problem. I can't have a half a seat, or a quarter of a seat, or a third of a seat, or 0.7 of a seat. So there are 1,248 seats in each section. Okay? We're going to see a lot of real life examples where we have to use long division. All right, bring these notes tomorrow and we'll practice long division with multi-digit numbers then. If you liked this video, if it was helpful, please like and don't forget to subscribe to me if you're not already.